A very good evening, everyone. On behalf of ISACA Mumbai chapter, I welcome you all to this knowledge session. So, on this auspicious occasion, firstly, I'd like to wish everyone a very happy Makar Sankranti, happy Lori, happy Bihu, happy Pongal, uh, happy Uttran, and happy Makar Vilanku. So, a very festive season we have, and wishing everyone across different areas very happy festive season. So, coming to this chapter meet, we have with us a very learned faculty, Mr. Sanket Sarkar. He is going to take us on the knowledge session on informed decision making in cybersecurity. I'll briefly introduce him. So, Sanket is a founder of Xeron and a well-known cybersecurity both in IT and OT and ICS and risk management professional with over 5 years of experience. He has a strong analytical and solving skills. He has studied from Wharton Executive School for Entrepreneurship and also a Harvard graduate on cybersecurity, managing risk in information age. Sanket looks at yeah,
Yeah, I request all the members to stay on mute.
yeah, just
request.
mute.
Yeah, you continue. I'll just mute others.
Okay,
You continue. Yeah.
Okay, fine. So Sanket looks at cybersecurity as a need rather than a necessity. He has founded Xeron with a vision to quantify cybersecurity in a user-friendly form factor and a mission to make cybersecurity super simple and hassle-free. At the moment, building the world's first autonomous cybersecurity posture man, that is Xeron. He himself is a hacker, and while I would say ethical hacker, and while devising cybersecurity solution from a perspective of a hacker, which takes the solution closer to the infinite integral of hack proof that limit is infinite. So he's also at George Talks and a trainer at Microsoft Imagine Academy and law enforcement bodies. So with this, I for accepting our invite and being with us for this knowledge session. So over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Murtaza, for the lovely introduction, and thank you for the warm welcome, everyone. It's glad to be here with all the uh, how do I put it? With all the experts of cybersecurity in their respective fields, and I'm sure I would learn a lot today from everyone. Well, the topic for today is informed decision making in cybersecurity. Before we go on, I'll just share my screen.
Yeah, Mr. Sanket, Prashant Deshpande here. Whenever you just want to launch a poll, please let us know. We'll launch the poll accordingly. Okay? Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure, Mr. Prasad. I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Can anyone? I'll just try to make this session more interactive rather than just a monologue. Can someone just read out what you can see?
It's written bridging trust gaps and informed decision making.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. So now when we talk about informed decision making, the first thing that comes is bridging the trust gaps, and only then we will be able to make informed decision making, right? Now, what are we exactly talking about? When we talk about bridging trust gap and information decision making, a lot has been talked about, a lot of things in the cybersecurity field, but let us make some things clear first. I'm not talking about zero trust. That's a complete different section. I'm not talking about zero trust. So what I am talking about now, in a particular organization, all of you might be using n number of tools, 10 tools, 20 tools, 30 tools. But does that give you the confidence to go to the management or make a decision that I want to procure this next tool or want to implement this particular control? There are a lot of problems that come up. Now, why does that come up and what exactly happens? We'll cover that here. So one thing that I've made clear is I'm not talking about zero trust. We have talked about zero trust a lot in the last few years. And as a personal opinion, I still believe there's a long way to go with zero trust. So what are trust gaps? Now, before I mention what are trust gaps, I'll just like to mention something. Or before we mention something, can we just right now pull up the first poll, Mr. Prashant?
Meet you the host. So
Yeah, we launched the poll. Manoj,
you can,
ओपन कर रहा हूँ Is the poll visible? Is the poll
Not
visible?
yet.
No.
No.
ओपन कर दिया poll.
Yes, it is visible now.
The results have come now. हेलो. हाँ वो क्या ये दिख रहा है ना. अभी नहीं दिख रहा है अर्जुन पोल क्योंकि रिजल्ट तो आ रहा है. नो आंसर 40
No, the poll is being shown. The poll is being shown.
Poll is visible now.
पोल दिख रहा
Poll
है.
is visible. So the reason for this particular poll is to understand how each of the organizations function. The reason being, cybersecurity
Sorry to
is
interrupt. There
no
are
more.
still 16 more people to answer. 15 more to answer. Still 15 people have not answered the poll. We'll close the
Sure,
poll in next 20 seconds.
Sure. I was just filling in the vacuum. That's it, so that no one gets bored. So essentially, everything that we do is a matter of a function, right? In mathematics, we had studied functions. Now, cybersecurity also is a function of few parameters. And what are they, we'll discuss soon. But it is essential for us to understand who are the decision-making people in the cybersecurity. Otherwise, we won't be able to derive at a point where we discuss about informed decision-making.
Is the poll results visible?
Yes, it is visible. 65% option E.
9% have said A. 9% have said A. And 42 people have answered all of them. 10 people have not answered.
4 people have answered,
People
core
have said
CISO
core
teams.
CISO team.
Okay,
You can continue, Shaker.
yes. So yeah, now as I was talking about the function, right? So cybersecurity is no more a function of just the technological aspect. It's a function of business. And nowadays, it's no more just a technical problem, it's a business problem. So it's a clear statement that now cybersecurity is the business problem. Everyone from the board to the CXOs to the core CISO team to the security analyst to the external vendors to the government, everyone is involved in cybersecurity. And it's not that easy to just derive at a decision. So if I just talk about this particular pictorial diagram, so we will divide it into two parts with the color division. You can see one is in dark blue or purple, another is the blue color. Now the dark blue signifies the inside the organization, the light blue signifies outside the organization. So inside the organization, we have board of directors, business unit or C-suits, IT security teams. Now, each one of them think about cybersecurity from their own perspective, and they have their different goals. The board of directors has their different goals. The C-suite has their different goals. The IT teams have their different goals. And all of them have different parameters of defining their success criteria for security. So for an IT team, if they have, or a security team, if they have defended 35 incidents which could have like led to a data breach, it's a success for them. But for the board, it's not a success metrics. For the board, has that particular activity saved a amount of money for the organization, or has it brought in more business opportunity for the C-suite as well? That is what matters. And if when you like when there's a decision that is being made, all of them needs to have a same alignment, but that does not happen, and that leads to trust gap. Now, coming out of the organization, there are external vendors and suppliers, and there are government institutions who have their own agendas with respect to cybersecurity. And that might or might not align with the organization because their parameters of defining success for cybersecurity are different. So, take for example, for an organization, if there is a exposed API, now certain might come and tell that your API is exposed, you are not secure, and you are unsuccessful, you have failed. But it doesn't work like that. There has to be an alignment that needs to come in place. So we have defined this like cybersecurity is a business problem. Now I'll just explain it in a particular. I'll just try to define it. There are different stakeholders like the board, CXOs, core CISO teams, security analysts who are involved in decision making for cybersecurity. All of them are involved. Even when you onboard a particular product or you procure a particular solution of cybersecurity, the security analysts are the one who actually go and do the POC, who are actually using the platform. There are core CISO teams who has to understand that whether that is bringing value with respect to the output that it is generating. The CXOs are also involved, either they are getting any output out of that or not, and also the monetary returns that they're getting or not, and the board as well. Now, talking about the main problem is, but all of them do not speak the same language of security. So I was just explaining. And this leads to trust gap across different layers of the corporate ecosystem. Now, talking about the first level of trust issues, it's the board and the C-suite. It's the board and the C-suite. Now, I would request for the second poll to be launched.
Sure, I'll do it. Yeah, poll is launched. Visible, no? Still 18 people have not started the poll. I request everyone to participate. We'll just stop the poll in next 20 seconds. Is the poll result visible?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
The result visible?
No. Yes, yes, it is visible.
It is visible.
Yes, it is visible.
Yeah, you can continue.
Sure. So we see 100 to 500 is the, no, sorry, 0 to 100 is the one which has got the most, right? Now, there's a reason why I put this. So we'll discuss that. So while we were discussing this, right, while we discuss this, because we need to track all these data for our decision making, right? Now, take for example where you're sitting with your board or your C-suite and explaining these figures that we had saved these kind of attacks, these kind of things. What is the general response that you can get? And it's a worldwide trend. And just to give the links, the source of these statistics, that whatever I'm showing on the platforms are derived from McKinsey and Boston Analytics. So we plugged in 30 vulnerabilities. The general answer that you would get is, so what? And just to mention, in a general meeting of a board meeting where security is also being incorporated as one of the major parts, but it still comes as a part of the IT discussion, which gets a window of around 15 to 20 minutes, right? Within that, cybersecurity you have to include. So you especially need to know what that has to be said to the board. So you go and say, we plugged in 30 vulnerabilities. The general reply that you would get is, so what? We plugged in 10 insider threats. So what? This doesn't matter to them. We need to buy this tool. You go and say, we need to buy this tool. We need a budget. The general reply would be, we have already invested so much. Why do you need more tool? Are you not being able to use those tools properly? Now, out of these three questions which you like saw just right now, if anyone would like to share if they have faced something like this, you have got a reply like this ever. I guess it's a forum of all security professionals, so we can talk about the things that happens. But does any of this anyone has faced ever?
Yeah, Sanket, Pavan here.
Yes.
Yep, Sanket, I have faced this issue. Like, invest to what extent? Because we keep buying products I'm using for VA scanning, I'm using Nessus, then for my alerts and all, I'm using RSA, then SOAR is there. Then again, there are security service providers or third party for penetration testing every year. So to what extent, to what limit? Because somewhere we have to stop because it's a support, not the
Yes.
direct revenue generator. Though IT is the only way through, which enable the business, but still, to what extent we should invest? And threat, the way it is enumerating across, so there is no limit as such. So I need your input on
Absolutely.
this. What should be that limit?
Sure. So there are two ways to it. One is to get the budget approved, right, for your new things, and also see what are the NPS, like something that we practice in our organizations internally. So we are a cybersecurity company, but we also practice cybersecurity practices. And I had been working with many companies where I was working. So every solution that is being procured, we apply an NPS. So it's a NPS is generally practiced in the B2C space or consumer market, but that's something I had brought in. We put an NPS. So take for example, we are using Tata Teleservice for internet. We put an NPS to that. We are using CrowdStrike for our Falcon actually for our AV. We put an NPS. We are using Aruba. We put an NPS. Now, what do I mean and how do I generate it? All the users who are using that particular tool to assess the results. So, take for example, our security teams. Each of the members put a rate of satisfaction in that because they are the ultimate users who are using it, and then that helps us to make a decision out of that. That whether next year whether I'm going to renew this or should I look for something else which can bring in more value. That is one. Second is I need to understand where am I exactly standing. Is this actually bringing a value? Now, as you said, the threat evolution, or if I just put it in terms, the attack surface is increasing daily. In your organization, you might have two systems, same configuration, and everything is same. And two of them are of same threat level, same vulnerabilities. But you need to make a decision on which one you would go to save first. So I just said two systems, but take for example, you have such 1000 systems. Now to jump onto fixing all 1000 systems at an instance is a humongous task because CISOs have a lot more on their plate. And it's not humanly possible just to go on fixing because all of them you cannot patch at once as well. There are many critical threats as well. So you need to have a prioritization of your risks that okay, if this is this, take for example, you have grouped it with respect to your departments, and this is a financial sector or this is the R&D division. I need to fix the R&D division first or the business or the finance department first based on the business logics. So that's one way which through which you would be able to prioritize or l- understand the limit to till which you should invest. Are you actually getting the return on the tools that you have invested? That's one way. Does that answer your question?
Yes, Sanket, I understood what you're trying to say, that we should prioritize as per the risk, okay, which is critical, which is low, and basis which the investment to be made. But yes, to much extent, I agree with you. But still, when it comes to managerial level to explain this to the C level, C-suite level, it's really difficult because they approve you budget for the things, but it is again same thing. To what extent you can, secure your data, your systems, your infrastructure. So that is, the whole risk boils down to you at the ground level. So agree, yes.
Absolutely. So the last two lines that you said, you would get an answer for that in the next two slides, right? What can make them happy?
Yeah.
And I have seen this as a thing, like when I was working with organizations as consultants for the Fortune 500 companies. There are boards who do not understand security. I'll just take an example. It's one of the biggest steel manufacturing companies in India. The management and the promoters of the company do not understand C of cybersecurity. Forget cybersecurity; they do not understand IT as well. Now, to explain them that we need this budget is a really daunting task. But if we go and tell them, there's something that they surely understand. We saved $250,000 of vote losses. Or if I just go and say, we could have made 2.5 crore losses due to the measures that we had taken previously. We saved this amount of money. The answer that comes out is nice. But there's another answer which they love. We are above the industry benchmark. There are peer companies, there are other companies who are competing with us. They are below this benchmark, we are above the benchmark. You just go and tell them, you will see a smile in their face. And you will get whatever approval is needed.
Agree, absolutely agree with you.
Because at the end of the day, promoters understand two things. One is money. Second, are they ahead of their competition? Because they know if they are ahead of their competition, they will use that in a gimmicky way in their marketing to attract more clients, which would bring in more revenue. So essentially, what happens when you present these kind of things to the board or the CX or the top management level, as you were telling, cybersecurity becomes an enabler for their business rather than just driving. Now, so as I was telling, like there are two parts, the CISOs who have the most daunting task, right? Because in general, we are surrounded by people who do not understand security. To be very simple. And it is a general tendency for organizations to take into consideration that the cybersecurity is only the responsibility of the CISO or the security team. They are solely responsible for it, which is not the case. So, what's the common ground? There are trust gaps, as I said, and the information that needs to be passed on to the board have to be presented in terms that they understand, not what we understand as security professionals. So we have compromised a bit. Now they also have to compromise a bit. So what's the common ground? Well, it's very easy. You cannot fight with the board. There is no common ground. We just cannot fight with the board. We will have to bend our way and present it in the way they want it. There's no common ground to be made between the board and the CISOs because they won't understand. When do when do boards come in or the top management come in really? क्या हो रहा है मेरे को देखना है. I'm sorry if I just spoke in Hindi. Is that comfortable with everyone? So they would come and say, what's happening? I want to know. When does this happen? When there is a breach. Otherwise, CISO is there. They'll handle it. That's the general tendency. So you cannot fight with the board. So that's a reality check for all of us. Let's not dream, but that's how it is. I'll just take a pause. Any questions still here? I'm happy to answer.
Is it not our job also to educate the board?
Well, we do a lot, but essentially what happens is it doesn't work. At least at the present age, it doesn't work. A lot of circulars are there, a lot of uh, newsletters, a lot of mandates, a lot of feeds are there, but it still doesn't work. Because take for example, in a scenario where you are talking security, right? I'll just set up a board meeting for you right now. So take for example, just imagine a board meeting is going on. Now we are educating the board. So I am telling, so do you know the ransomware attacks are increasing and we need to have some ransomware prevention here. We also need to have some deception technology, right? Because it might help us to be protective. It won't hamper our operations, because if operations goes down, then business might be at risk. And certainly another person says, so we have a deal from Google. I think we have to discuss that as well, which can be approximately around a $500 million project. Where would the ears of the board members go?
Google.
The reason is there is only, it's a very like ardent fact. There's only one thing that goes on in the mind of the top management and the board. It's money and whether I'm ahead of the competition. That's the nature. Otherwise, even the biggest of the security companies, the promoters of the company, if they focus and incorporate a culture of security, then they won't ever be hacked, because security at the end of the day is a matter of culture and not just technology. It's an art. But there are two things that goes on to their mind. So moving ahead, the next level.
So there are like
Yes.
ECMP drill held for upper management. So that can also work.
Yes, absolutely. Like those can work. But that won't help you in making informed decisions, which I'm trying to convey. Obviously, like there are programs, there are a lot of programs that are there which are in terms of educating the boards in terms of security, camps, and all those things. And those courses cost heavy, very, very heavy. But essentially, that won't be a factor in your informed decision making, right? Because take for example, you have an intel. The security analyst team has a threat intel that the Lazarus APT group is getting active on the NBFC sector. Take for example, or the payment sector, the payment card sector. Right now they have the threat intel. Now you need to get a budget immediately so that you can plug that in, because that would have a new kind of thing, and you might have to bring in some packages of your existing tools to upgrade it and all those things. You would have to present it in a way to the board that they understand that if I'm not going to do this, my business is going to stop and we might better soup. They have to have understanding of that thing. Or you can put in a other way. We need to do this or we are in soup with the regulatory mandates. No one questions. You put in the term of regulatory mandates. Supposingly you are an exchange body, or you are a NBFC by IRDA, or you are into healthcare where NBCH is there, and you go and say, we need to do this. It has been a mandate from them. We don't do this. We are in soup. Now it actually has to be there. You just cannot make it out, but you have to present it in that way. That's what I'm trying to say. That's what informed decision making is. You inform them So I'll try to make this a bit.
Hey, Sheetal.
We'll like to make this a little bit of funny. Everyone has seen the movie Three Idiots. Everyone has. I'm not just asking. Everyone has. I know. So there's a part where Amir Khan says, instruments and records analyze, summarize, organize, debate, and explain information that have illustrated, non-illustrated, paperback, jacketed, non-jacketed, with forward introduction, table of contents, sensory route of vision, sometimes touched. What does he mean? He means books. Information is books. This is data. Whatever we are telling that APT group Lazarus, this is data for them. This is not information. Information is something that makes sense to them. They can understand it. And only then a proper decision would be made. Okay. I hope I made sense, whatever I tried to portray. We'll move ahead. And the next level is the business and IT, the never-ending game. So the next level of cybersecurity trust gaps, which leads to lack of informed decision making, is the business and IT. So before we start, can we run the next poll?
Sure, I'll do that.
While Mr. Manoj is pulling up the poll, just a feedback till here. I hope everyone is enjoying the session.
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Is poll visible?
It's visible.
Audit finding is also one of the way which we can convey to the board that these are the audit findings and this is the corrective action, and for this corrective action we require this tool or this budget we require to do. Like PAM tool is required because we have a findings related to the privilege access management, the way we are doing it. Something like
Agreed.
that.
Yes, audit absolutely works. Absolutely, 100% agreed with that. Affirmative.
The poll results visible?
It is visible.
Yes. So 51% on yes, 16% no, 34% who haven't answered. Okay. So, yep. Just when we go and say you cannot use this service. So take for example, there has been a new mandate that has come in or a new policy that you are trying to implement, and you go and say you cannot use the service. The general feedback that people give is business will be slow. Don't come and tell me if this I cannot do this, then if I cannot transfer a direct file to the server or this website, then business will be slow. It's a general tendency that people follow. We need to put this control. So essentially, I remember when I was working with a company, which was a media company, and it's an OTT platform. So they collect content and they upload. And what they generally used to do is when what they generally used to do is they used to have a pen drive and pass it on because they were doing editing and all those things. And that OTT platform later on had an agreement with Hotstar. Now Hotstar has a compliance list. Like we have ISO 27001, we have other different controls. Hotstar has a own compliant control list, which every partner that is or working with Hotstar has to comply with that. Now an OTT platform has to comply because that would lead them to business. And Hotstar was giving them around 20 crores of business every year. So they had to put that control that you cannot use pen drive. And KPMG had come to audit for that. Next day, they were almost, their productivity of the whole organization got down by 30%. And the IT manager was on leave that day. I know him personally. Then he came and then he implemented something which no one complained about. So what exactly he did? He said, do not say everyone that pen drives are not allowed. Just make it in a way that they feel the pen drive port is not working. They did the same thing, but they just not go and put it out and say you cannot use pen drives. So this generally happens when a particular way of work is going on and suddenly it's disrupted in a particular way, then people just go bizarre. So what's the common ground? Be agile and smooth agile. Now agile is like have to make a flexible culture, and the implementation has to be smooth as silk. So we just cannot be commanding with people. We have to get our things work done because that ultimately is going to give us the compliance and the audit success rates. But we have to do it in a very agile and very smooth way that no one feels a heckle on their work and still our work is done. I'll take a pause and would like to understand few of the cases where people have faced problems with their business teams and would make it in a way what would try to give in some inputs, or others can also put in an input. So the session would be a bit interactive. So anyone who would like to come up and discuss few of the challenges that they face with respect to dealing with the business teams while implementing security measures. Don't tell me no one has ever faced a problem with the business
I
team.
think Sanket Durgesh here. I think everybody has faced, but I think we don't want to really, speak about it. But I will tell you, like, we're working with the marketing team in our
Just generalize
organization.
it. Just generalize it. That's
Yeah,
it.
okay. So working with our marketing team, they were before we implement DLP solution, they were using web version of the WhatsApp to work with the marketing agencies. Okay, where they used to share some content. And when we implemented DLP, then there was a lot of noise the way they used to work. So there was loss of productivity, and we had to find some other way around and maybe raise some exception for some key resources. So there are such challenges where people they don't want us to implement control. They see it as a hurdle for their productivity. sometimes mainly marketing people, I think.
So do you think like in front of their eye, right? Take for example, the marketing department sits in a particular location, right, or a particular office, and in front of their eye, if they could see marketing division ka breach probability is this, right? Overall organization ka breach probability is around
Hmm.
30%, and marketing team's breach probability is around 70%, wherein they do not comply to this. So their compliance score is around this, and their security posture, if I say, is way bad than the other departments. Would it make an effect on them to take some actions themselves?
I think we look at a holistic, organization level issue. Again, the sensitivity of the data which we are sharing with the outside, because it's some content or design, then it depends, whether how much sensitive it is for the business. So we look at it a holistic way, and then of course we are not a big organization, so immediately we take it to the top management leadership to discuss this issue, and we sort it out internally. But sometimes what happens is that it takes time for some of the organization to reach to that level of maturity where because marketing is the organization function which creates shadow IT also. So we had experienced a lot of things such that, like they were subscribing to certain things. They were registering some domains. So a lot of things basically from the marketing side.
I understand. My point of saying was, supposingly everything like they were doing, then you had put a DLP, right?
Yeah.
And there was a lot of noise. If in front they could see how vulnerable they were with figures, I'm not telling you you need to tell them this is the CV, this and all. No, that's not informed decision making. You tell them that marketing department is way below the overall security standard of the organization, and this might lead to complications, right?
Right.
Only this much.
Yeah.
Would the noise have been lower? That's my question.
Yeah, that is
What do you think?
Yeah, that is what happened. Like because we have to be tactical. I mean, we cannot directly say that you are doing something wrong. We have to put it politely and in a softer version. So we did all that, and yeah, there was effect on that. Of course, with some exception maybe somewhere. But yes, I think overall the security posture becomes strong with this sub function. Earlier it was it was like uncontrollable, but then we started tightening the screws, and then we could control this sub function also of our organization with respect to putting some controls on the data leak.
That's awesome. That's great to hear. Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you. Just a second. Yes. So that's predominantly very specifically on the business and IT teams, right? It's a Tom and Jerry game that's gonna stay for some time, but it's not that so much complex as the previous one was. Now, before we move on to the next part, I would like to have the next poll.
Sure, I'll do that.
Yeah. This had been my LinkedIn poll today also, but I thought of putting it here as well for today.
I think poll is visible.
Yes. So I can see a couple of questions in the chat, right? Once the session is over, I'd address all those questions. Yeah. So we have 42% saying ISO 27001, 16% COBIT, 4% GDPR, 13% NIST, and 25% who haven't answered. So yeah, ISO 27001 is the leader, it seems, from here. But it depends from business case to business case. So okay, the reason that I have put in would be clear from the next slide. So organizations and governments have different um, regulatory bodies: Reserve Bank of India, Security Exchange Board of India, certain. These are few which I've put, but certain recently has become very activated the last 1 year, and they're almost taking care of everything, every single point that is getting exposed in the internet. They are on to it. We recently worked with certain closely to help three major data breaches, which could have affected millions of Indian bank accounts. So certain has become very active. But how do we like work collaboratively with them and not in a mode where it's like a tussle that's going on? So it's no surprise that local, national, and federal governments have, in recent years, promoted private sector organizations to become more aware of cybersecurity issues and more active in their data protection efforts. Everyone is aware of it. Cyber attacks in major financial institutions can affect overall market stability. Energy grid hacks can pose national threats too. Now, as I said, I started my career as a hacker, and I just like to put something when we talk about cybersecurity. This is a lot bigger aspect. So I'll give you three instances which would give you a real sense of what hacking can do. Most of the things that we see nowadays, coming from a hacking background and coming from a background of black hat hacking, I can assure you most of the hacking that happens nowadays are just information gathering and not actual hacking. Because most of the people do so much of misconfigurations, so much of default username passwords, and so much of careless mistakes that hackers do not have to like do a lot of work. Yesterday we were working with an organization. It's a organization which provides APIs of Aadhars and all those stuff. We found their username passwords of databases of their client in GitHub. We found their AWS keys in GitHub. These are like hackers don't have to do anything about it. So the three references which I was talking about: one, you get up in the morning and see 10 lakh rupees vanished from your account. It's a big hack. Second, you get up in the morning, open the news, and you see from every Indian bank account, 1 rupee is gone. Huge. It's a massive hack. Third, so you get up in the morning, open the news, and you see for 1 minute, all the railway signals in India were green. Just think about the impact that it's going to have. It's going to be a calamity. That's what hacking level can go up to. It happened, by the way, this particular attempt which I was talking about did happen in India back in 2015, yes. And India luckily saved it. It happened from the country which brought in COVID, to be very specific, right? But these kind of attacks keep on happening. While I was working with the law enforcement bodies, I got to know of a lot of information. We also saved. So, have you seen that we have CCTV cameras in roads? Right. Now, all the Hikvision cameras that were being used were being tracked. So we could generally log in, and if any car has fine, we can just remove that. So in this particular aspect, both the government and the organization has to work collaboratively and make proper decisions. It's not a blame game that has to go on. The government comes and says, hey, you are not doing this, you would be fined or you would be penalized. Government company private sector organizations comes up and say, if you impose these kind of controls, we cannot work. It has to be a collaborative work. Neither side can afford to battle cyber attacks on its own. It's not possible. And both of the teams need to understand and see how they can bring in value. The next slide, like companies and government agents must improve how they share security oriented informations. So this was a insights derived from interviews with about 270 chief information security officers and other top executives of the World Economic Forum. The analysis was done by McKinsey. Now, 28% said publish and share sanitized government threat monitoring insights and informations. 16% said create more forums for corporations and government to work collaboratively. 15% said create an information exchange platform between private and public sector agencies. 9% said enhance cyber capabilities and share best practices with corporate officials. As of right now in India, we have got the first one, publish and share sanitized government threat monitoring insights and informations with corporates. Certain does that every day. If you're registered with that feed, you would get every morning the data, with which firewalls, with which what are the patches, what are the different things, you will get every detail. Enhance cyber capabilities and share best practices with corporate officials. We have guidelines. We have like SEBI asset management company guidelines, insurance companies guidelines. These are there. In India, we do not have these two as of right now, which is create more forums for corporations and government to work collaboratively, which Data Security Council of India is trying to do but haven't achieved yet. And what we do not have is create an information exchange platform between private and public sector agencies. We do not have anything of this right now, but this is needed. So probably, we don't know, ISACA Mumbai chapter might be, if we all can work together and suggest some of these kind of things to the people who are in control and make something out of this, maybe we would be able to reduce the trust gap between the government and the organizations as well. Right. So any questions still here with this particular section of the trust gap between organizations and what do I say, the government sides? Any specific questions? More than happy to answer.
Continue, we'll take the questions in the end.
Sure. So that was the end of my presentation, right? We would be moving to the question answer sessions, and I would give you a brief on how to summarize whatever we discussed and make informed decision. So concluding, if companies recognize the human aspect in cybersecurity and take steps to close trust gap by introducing more transparency. Essentially, if you just say that I have a tool, it would do the work, it is not going to do. You need to have a proper visibility. You need to have the capability to determine the effectiveness of the cybersecurity measures that you are taking. So by introducing more transparency, they can increase the odds that the cybersecurity programs would be successful, which I was saying, determining the efficiency. And not just in near terms, but over the long haul, regardless of the kinds of threats that they emerge. Remember one thing, I say this very open and loud. Cybersecurity is not a technology, it's an art. And cybersecurity is not about whether you can prevent yourself from getting hacked. You cannot. You cannot. No one can be saved from getting hacked. You are either hacked or you would be hacked. Or if I put it in other ways, you are safe only till the day that you are hacked. But if you have a proper informed decision mechanism, if those trust gaps are minimized, you would be able to get back from that attack faster. Your cyber resilience would be more in a better position. And all of these happens if you have a proper cybersecurity posture. RBI has announced its technological vision for urban cooperative banks and the whole financial sector for 2023. And it says posture management is something that organizations need to take up. And fun fact, I just posted a poll yesterday on LinkedIn, and others might have gone through other options, but there were many people from the urban cooperative bank world itself who did not know about it. And it's mentioned clearly in the mandates for RBI circulars that they bring up. We have the resources, but we have to make the mechanism to get that data transform into an information and make a decision out of that. We have data, but we're not making informations. That's the exact point where we are lacking in making decisions with cybersecurity. So yes, thank you everyone. I tried to keep it short. It's already a Saturday evening, but I'm open to questions. I would like to interact more with everyone, try to understand your problems, and whatever I have gained experience in this field, seeing from the core level to the top level, will be happy to share those experiences. And yes, that's my introduction. You can find me in LinkedIn with InfoSec Sanket. That's the slash that you get, linkedin.com/InfoSec Sanket, or you can search Sanket Sarkar.
There is one more poll. Can I
Yeah.
share that?
Yes. Will come. Yes. So Sanket Sarkar, you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm the founder and CEO of Xeron. I'm an ethical hacker, cybersecurity researcher, ISO 27001 lead auditor. So that's all about me. I hope everyone enjoyed the session.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, can we have the last poll?
I'll do that.
Yeah.
Is the poll results visible?
Yes.
Sanket, are you saying something? You're on mute.
I'm really sorry. So we see 39% saying convincing board, 19% saying managing mandates, 12% saying hopping from one dashboard to another, and 30% haven't answered. So yeah, but great insights. Now I have some questions that I had seen. So there was a question which says, how do you know the industry benchmark, right? So we can use a lot of take a lot of help of technology here. There's something called CTIs, which says cyber threat intelligence, which essentially says your organization, which sector it belongs to, what is the revenue bracket that it belongs to, what are the different locations, and those creates a wireframe or the persona for that particular segment. So if I take for an example for a particular organization, I do not know which other organization that are present here, so I won't take a name. But take for example one of the largest banks in India. Now bank sector, financial sector, revenue size, employee strength, different locations, all these parameters can be clubbed, right? And all the data are anonymously taken from all the threat intel sources, and the industry benchmarks are made. To answer the question from Nishant. Nishant, I hope that answers your question.
Yes, Sanket.
Yeah. So next question was from Pawan Kumar. IoT is now being one of the major contributor to IT security risk. To what extent it can be reduced? Well, there is no doubt about it. More we attach assets, even IoT devices are assets, our attack surface increases, and the task of CISOs also increases. So we need to have centralized risk profilings where we can know what are the different things that are going on, what are the different threat intels. A lot of ingestions has to be done. So IoT is a very major factor, because one of the major factors why IoT is the major contributor to IT security risk is a lot of things that are used in IoT devices are open source, right? And the tools that are manufactured are also open source. If you're using a Raspberry Pi is an open source thing. So that's one of the major things. Okay. Fair enough. Now, just to summarize whatever we discussed and how to make informed decisions. So as I said, we have data. We have a lot of data. But does everyone understand that? And does everyone need to understand all the data? No, right? Show them what they need to see. Give them only the information that they need to see. The CISOs or the security teams or the security managers, at the end of the day, everyone says it's their job. Fine, take up the ownership and show only the data that they need to see, then they would understand. That's an information for them, not a data. The business team want to make them convince on something, show them data that they would help, that they would get benefited. So when they're marketing, if they say that we have this security and that, will it help the organization? So seeing that perspective, giving relevant KPIs and KRIs to the people is all that is needed to make informed decision. Now, having said that, the conclusion line is giving relevant KPIs to each of the stakeholders who are associated with decision making for cybersecurity is how you reduce these trust gaps and make informed decision making. I'm open to questions. We can spend a bit of time on questions. Any questions that you have, not even if it's not specific to this particular segment, but the world of cybersecurity or hacking, I'm more than happy to answer. But I'm open to questions. Any specific questions that you have. Do we have any questions?
Sanket, I was just wondering if there is any place where we could get the uh, information about the benchmarks available on these pens on the cybersecurity by different industries.
Well, there are no open sources available for this, right? There are a couple of places that I know. So you can connect with me on LinkedIn. I can share you the resources across, right?
Alright.
But if you can configure OpenCTI in your organization, it's an open source OpenCTI in your organization, but it's
Okay.
a bit complicated. But if you and your team has the knowledge of OpenCTI, you can do it yourself.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you can connect me on LinkedIn. I'll share
In
you
fact,
the
I
resources
have
across.
one query,
Sure, thanks.
Yeah,
one question.
Manoj.
Mr. Sanket, Manoj here.
Yeah, hi
Yeah,
Manoj.
this, in case we want to present something to a board, so how we can present in some shortest way? Because generally the board people will not give much time to the CISO to present for a longer period, basically. So we have very short time to present anything to board. So how fast, and some ideas on that if you can share.
So you can there's a basic way which people generally do it is the way of presentations, right? But presentations are boring. Even they have been seeing presentations for a long time. If you can have a dashboarded approach, which can essentially help them understand the gist of you, because that's what dashboards are for. And it would also give them a confidence that the CISO, the money that is being allotted to them is used in a proper way, and they're also thinking of conveying the message to the board. So it creates a good impression. So dashboarded approach is something that people should take up to present to boards, because that's the shortest way. Because it's very easily understandable. There are big numbers that are there. They understand it, and when it's numbers, board people and the people at the top management, they get convinced very easily.
They talk always on the number part. They are more interested on the number.
Yes.
And how we can keep ourselves updated with all the multiple sites available. Is there anything by with one click we can have from certain, from RBI, from SEBI? Is it possible to have something like this? Okay, a single click and I get the all updates from everyone.
Well, you can use Xeron, but yes, that's something we do. But unfortunately, there's no the platform which does this as a offering, right? But you can do it manually. It's you can create a master list, but there's no automation platform available in the market except for Xeron. So yes, that's how you can do it. It essentially, what I recommend from a cybersecurity point of view is create your own master list for your organization, which essentially helps you to understand what is needed for your organization rather than just going around and following every control. ISO 27001 has 97 controls right now in the new version. Previously, it was 114 controls. Does all the 97 controls fall for your organization? There are controls which do not apply to every organization. You will have to keep that aside and focus on the things which apply for your organization. So essentially, that's would be my 2 cents on it, that you should make a master list first for your organization. That's essentially would help you, because if you're making a master control list, you are already mapping them with these things, and you when you monitor that master list, you are getting compliant and mandated by following the tracking the mandates for the regulatory bodies.
But again, the controls will vary for different companies. It will be something different. Some people may be following the RBI regulatory. Some people may be following SEBI regulatory. So again, the controls will vary.
The controls would vary. The control numbers would vary. The statements would vary. But the crux of it would remain same. I generally advise people to follow something that covers everything. That is the ISMS 9001. It covers end-to-end everything, whatever you see, anywhere you see. So everything, if you find in ISMS 9001, you would find it. ISO 27001 is derived from that. NIST framework is derived from that. A lot of frameworks is derived from that. So essentially, you will have to map, like the mapping of the things has to be there. I just cannot promote my company, otherwise I would have like gone loud and said, but uh, anyone interested can connect me offline and I would be able to help. So yeah.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Manoj. Any other questions?
Questions?
Do you feel cybersecurity is going to be the greatest risk for 2023?
Uh, Cybersecurity is always a risk, but we can define it a way that what is going to be the specific thing which is going to create a lot of impact on managing cybersecurity. So the biggest problem that organizations are going to face is just give me a moment. I need to connect my charger. Yeah. So the biggest challenge that organizations are going to face is a lot of people are going to come. A lot of the board people are going to get involved in decision making of cybersecurity right now. Okay, and people would find it very difficult to have a conversation with them. This is the biggest challenge that people are going to face. If I talk from a cybersecurity management perspective of it, right? However, if I talk from an external threat point of view, the biggest challenge that organizations are going to face is the ransomware attacks. There's no doubt about it that ransomware attacks are going to rule 2023. Now, the reason is the APT groups have already figured out points where they would be able to hack you with the ransomwares, right? But that's not the biggest challenge. The biggest challenge is organizations are not taking up steps to curb that challenge, and they are going to have an advantage of that. So these are the essential things that's going to rule 2023 in terms of cybersecurity. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you so much. Perfect. Perfect. Thank you.
There's a question on chat. Okay. What's meant by ATD group?
It's APT groups. APT groups, right? So APT groups are generally the people who hack, right? Now, how are they formed? So these are people who do not know each other, right? Now, if I'm forming an APT group, take for example, which goes like lizarders. I go to the darknet and form groups with people whom I don't know, but these are niche hackers. Now, APT means advanced persistent threats. So advanced persistent threat, what does it mean? There's a ransomware. You remove the ransomware. Still, it's not removed. It still has the access. So if I just talk about Fine. If I just talk about hacking Windows XP back those days, so there was a particular thing that we get a meterpreter session, a shell kind of thing when we hack into the system. Now that shell used to go away if you turn off the computer. But when we do advanced persistent threats, when you turn on the computer again, we get the access. Now, how to remove these kind of malwares or the ransomwares once they are have got into your systems? You have to use advanced XDR systems that are available in the market to get this, and they also have to release a new version or new patch to get this updated because the old versions cannot. Because even the hackers also use AI and ML, so they would train those models like that. So essentially, it's better not to fall in a ransomware trap and have your posture management in place beforehand, so that even if that happens, you can get back to your feet very quickly. Everyone has seen what happened to AIMS. So much of infrastructure, so much of the postures were not correct, and ransomware hit. Sunita, I agree with your point. The latest cyber tech and hospitals and pharma companies seem to be a part of World War. I agree with your point. Like, this is a personal opinion that I too have. And by the way, if in India a cyber war starts happening, the first place that's going to be attacked is Bangalore, because that's the IT hub, and that's where from the telecom is communicated. Think about if telecom is cut across all of India, whole internet is gone. No connectivity with people. Just think about that thing. I always have a what do I say, cyber warfare mindset. So it's coming from that side. How would upcoming privacy bill of India impact the after the nothing's there Shirashank? Fine. How would the upcoming privacy bill of India impact? I would say let it come. Only then we would be able to understand. But it's more of a cultural impact that would bring in, that would come up, I would say, right? Fines were a topic of discussion in the version 2 of the updates that were there. So fines might not be there, but it would bring in a cultural change. That's something that I believe. What steps are required to prevent ransomware? Well, ransomware is like any other hacking attack, right? Just maintain your basics right. Is your confidential integrity available on place? Are you being able to track your confidential integrity availability? Are you being able to measure your basics of the controls or the policies that you are implementing? So these are important. Stick to basics, I would say, and do not overcomplicate things. That's the essence of cybersecurity. For OT, what minimum practical security controls would you suggest? NIST 853 is the go-to thing for OT security. NIST 853. Follow that. Just close your eyes and follow NIST 853. Even NCIPC, which is
इस बार
critical infrastructure.
आराम से मोड़ना,
Yeah.
पूरा मोड़ने की कोशिश करना, बिना पैर टिका के. चल 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 चल.
Request other participants to be on mute, please.
Yes, Sanket, you can continue.
Sanket, you can continue.
Yes. From certain perspective, which logs is to be archived from OT systems? Well, I guess this is the 50th time that I'm getting this question. Certain very smartly has not mentioned anything about this. It has not mentioned security logs, system logs, application logs. It has not mentioned. Certain has been asked this question many a times, but certain has kept quiet. The reason is maintaining every log for 180 days is a huge cost. It's a huge cost. But there are ways to deal with that as well. You can have your cold storage and active storage. It requires 180 days of active storage. So rest you can keep 90 days cold storage and 90 days active storage. A lot of tricks and bits are there for certain, but which logs exactly certain has not mentioned. To be on safe side, try to have a mechanism of logging everything, because no one ever knows when certain is going to ask for which log. In the whole document of certain, it's not mentioned. What is best practice keywords for DLP? And get your question, Ashok. If you could just like explain or a bit more elaborate your question. Might be I do not know this. That's why I'm telling I'm not being able to understand. If someone has understood, please feel free to answer. I'm not someone who knows everything, but I did not get the question. Can anyone help?
Is written on chat.
Oh, okay. So just yeah. So just keywords configured in data loss prevention for protect sensitive data. Well, it's very subjective, Ashok. It would depend from business to business, right? There's no generic way to define this. There's no generic. If I just go and tell you some keywords, it would be a false kind of message that I would pass on. There is no generic way to configure the keywords for DLP. It has to be driven by the business use cases or the business that they're in. So there's no general way.
What is the question regarding that DLP? Pavan here.
Yeah, the question is, what is the best practice keywords for DLP? Suggest keywords to configure DLP for protecting of sensitive data.
Okay, from my point of view, I would like to share. I'm sure everybody practice the same thing. So like, in that we have to first classify as the basics, like what is public, private, confidential, internal, external. Basis that you can proceed, implement DLP at your email level, implement DLP at USB level, so on and so forth. So I think that is the way you can start up and then proceed further, how your data is traveling across your system, your application, your network. Is it secured enough? You have proper encryption end to end, then followed by how and where the data is at rest, in motion or in transit, like that. So I think this is the way we can ensure complete, data DLP security in your organization. What I'm sure everybody is doing the same, right? Is that something you expected?
Ashok, does that answer your question? Yeah, he says, thank you, Pawan. Thank you, Pawan, for answering it.
Sanket, thank you.
Do you have any more questions?
Yeah, Sanket, one more question.
Yes.
Now, a lot of WhatsApp messages are moving about Chat GPT. Okay.
Yeah.
So even people ask what are the best practices, how to ensure that board of directors understand. So I think, what is your view now that what I understood little bit about ChatGPT is that you ask the question and it gets you everything. Okay. So the person is asking like, what should be my social media policy, and it gives the entire policy. What should be my, uh, salary structure or something for my employee. If I want to start this business, it gives the entire details. So what you feel that, like we are from the CISO community and other the board of directors, everything, they will ask, like before coming to board meeting, they'll start asking questions to just chat GPT saying that what are the things I should ask during the board meeting, and they will come out with some strong questions. So what you feel where it will take, because if everything comes like that, so even hackers also we use this chat GPT there. Okay. So I just want to know your view. It's very new thing, chat GPT, but we just want to understand that how it's going to change if you have used this.
Sure, I have used it extensively. So essentially, ChatGPT has data till 2021, right? It does not have the data that are going on in the recent trends. So that's one drawback, because it is trained on contextual data which are have been trained over a period of years. Now, we are in a world where we are already engulfed with technology. So I remember one of the examples what Jack Ma had shared while he was a conversation with Elon Musk. Like when there were horse riders, previously it was horse riders, then pull carts and all, and then cars came in. Right? And when cars came in, the horse riders were like, our game is gone. Then when cars came, then when steam engine came, cars were like, our game is gone. When steam engine came, after then aeroplane came, they thought our game is gone. But everything has its own use cases. Even with the chat GPT, it cannot take in the human thing that's needed. Right. And that's how I concluded that the human feel has to be there in cybersecurity. It cannot be fully machine dependent. Now, to answer your question specifically, yes, your boards will ask ChatGPT what are the questions that I should ask. But if you have a proper culture of bridging those trust gaps and making an informed decision-making framework for your organization, you will beat ChatGPT. I can assure you that. Because with your answers, the board would be so convinced that from the next time they would ask you directly the questions and not to ChatGPT.
Okay, yeah, thanks.
And just to add on to that, ChatGPT is built on GPT-3. Okay, just going on a technical part, it's built on GPT-3, which has got around 70 million parameters. 70 million. Has everyone heard that? 70 million. GPT-4 is going to be launched next month. So GPT-3 was launched 5 years back, and ChatGPT was built on GPT-3. GPT-4 is coming next month. Again, next version of ChatGPT would be built on GPT-4. It would take longer time, by the way, to build ChatGPT-4. Now, GPT-4 has 1 trillion parameters. Think about the accuracy that it will have. 1 trillion parameters. What would be the impact of Microsoft taking over of ChatGPT? They are going to monetize it. That's it. They're going to monetize it. And Microsoft would also have the data for a lot of things. Their ML models would be better, and their HoloLens, which they had created for the metaverse, trying to compete. I think Microsoft will win this leg with Meta because their production was a lot better, and it would help them to create it more of a reality kind of thing. So that's their bet that they're going to take on ChatGPT. And at the end of the day, ChatGPT can turn out to be anything any day because one of the promoters is Elon Musk. So yeah, it has incorporated in Excel. It's going to incorporate in many of the things. It's also going to incorporate Microsoft Teams as well. So it's there, but again, like we had Canva long back. but still we see designs which are not good. We had Grammarly, but still we see people making grammatical mistakes. So the scopes would be there. At the end of the day, I, as a human being, believe whatever might come, no one can take the creativity that human beings have. So obviously, AI would be heavy on us, but creativity is something that's no one can take away from human beings. That's my 2 cents on it. Any more questions?
No, I think no.
Great. I hope everyone enjoyed the session, right? And you can connect with me on LinkedIn by searching Sanket Sarkar. You can Google Sanket Sarkar as well. You will get my that's something I just boasted about myself. But yep, happy to connect and happy to help and take the overall security posture of the whole nation to one level up with all of you. Can we request everyone to just turn on a camera if we can just take a screenshot of the session?
Yes. I just opened the feedback poll. All members kindly participate in the poll. And yes, it's a good practice. Actually, we should have our cameras on in the initial, 10 minutes and the closure as well. Okay, good to see. And any members want to, say something, some comments from members.
Just 2 words, awful session, and we were all awake.
Oh, great.
The last question, number 6. C is maybe. It should be maybe.
Murtaza needs Grammarly.
Yeah, we need to find it.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's okay.
Printer's devil.
Okay, maybe.
Printer's devil. I was just going to say that. Printer's devil.
No, so we are checking finally you are still awake or not, in the last question.
No, everybody was away.
Right, yes.
Nice session. अच्छा था.
Yeah.
हो गया video?
Yeah, Murtaza,
Yeah, good.
we
Yeah,
expect-
good to see. All members and Prashant, you will do the closing. Yeah.
नहीं कर दो मुर्तजा, कर दो.
Okay, fine. So thank you very much all members for being with us on this Saturday evening, and especially to our faculty for the day, Sanket. A very interactive session that like a long Q&A is happening, in the second half of the sessions. And so thank you very much for the wonderful insights about cybersecurity and hacking now. And once again, I would like to wish all members a very happy Makar Sankranti, happy Vishu, happy Lohri, happy Pongal, happy Uttarayan and Makara Vikalu. So enjoy the festive seasons. Yeah. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank
Wish
you.
you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We can close.
Thank you.
Yeah, happy Sankranti and happy Pongal to everyone. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you all. Ending the session. Yeah, thanks, bye.
Thank you, everybody, and a happy new year to all.
Wish you the same.